A man who wears the 10 pounds of gold, the nature boy, Ric Flair.
You know, I always like to take this opportunity to talk about myself.
The 16-time heavyweight champion has arrived.
I've got the style and profile like never before.
The greatest talker in the history of the business is behind the mic once again.
You're talking to the Rolex wearing, diamond ring wearing, kiss stealing, wheeling dealing, limousine like, jet flying, son of a gun. Woo!
This is WOOOOO Nation with Ric Flair.
I'm the man. Ric Flair.
Hey, this is the Nature Ric Flair, and you're listening to WOOOOO Nation on Play.it. And I'm with my great friend and co-host, Conrad Thompson, and we have a hell of a guest today, Conrad.
Woo! We've got the best of all time when it comes to Olympic wrestling in the United States. We've got Kurt Angle coming up right here on WOOOOO Nation, and we're going to have Kurt right on the other side of this break. Isn't that right, Rick?
Looking as only he can look. Woo!
The greatest talker in the history of the business is behind the mic once again. This is WOOOOO Nation with Ric Flair.
The wait is finally over. Baseball season is here at last, and the excitement continues all season long at DraftKings.com, the official daily fantasy partner of Major League Baseball. Daily fantasy means no season-long commitments, just instant cash, instant gratification. Why wait until the end of the season to claim victory when you can win huge cash every day? At DraftKings, it's like a brand new season every time you play. Just select 2 pitchers, 8 position players, stay under the salary cap, and you could be on your way to an enormous payday. Last year, Peter from Colorado won $1 million at DraftKings in one day, just playing fantasy baseball. Hundreds of thousands of fantasy sports fans, just like you, have already called in at DraftKings. Now it's your turn. Woo! Hurry to DraftKings.com now. Use promo code FLAIR to play for free. You could win part of the $300 million in prizes being awarded this season. Use promo code FLAIR, Flair, for free entry now at DraftKings.com. DraftKings.com, that's DraftKings.com. Woo!
This is WOOOOO Nation with Ric Flair.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's Ric Flair, 16 times your world heavyweight champion, opening up my new CBS podcast, WOOOOO Nation. And who better to have on my first show than one of the greatest professional wrestlers of all time. He's a hero to me, a hero to my son. He has made so much impression, such a strong impression on so many people in the short period of time he's been in the wrestling business. My good friend, 1996 Olympic Gold Medal winner, 3-time national champion at Clarion University, Kurt Angle. Kurt, how are you, man?
Hey, Rick, I'm doing well. It's an honor to be on your show.
Oh, thank you. And by the way, ladies and gentlemen, he is the most famous man in Pittsburgh. It's not Bruno Sammartino. He's right there with Mario Lemieux, but because the Penguins are out right now, it's all Kurt Angle. How you doing, man?
I'm doing well, man. I'm doing really well. How you doing, Rick?
I'm doing great. I had a rough year, took a year off, kind of got myself back together, but I sent you that picture. I'm in really good shape. I got myself, I took a year just to feel sorry for myself and, just collect my thoughts.
Well, Rick, you ran hard for years, man.
Yeah, so I know.
You deserve that year off.
I didn't run hard off. My fourth wife slowed me down a little bit.
Good for her.
I just got to throw that in. Actually, the last 2 put a little dent in me, but God, everything's okay now, man. And I was telling people, I tell people this all the time about you and I meeting in either Nashville or Memphis in that Gold's Gym. Was it Nashville?
It was in Memphis.
In Memphis.
Yes.
And you came over, introduced yourself. Of course, I know who you were because of our close mutual friend, T.J. Dworsky, and obviously being a 96 Olympian, I've loved amateur wrestling forever. And you said, hey, I'm thinking about going to WCW. And I think I almost fell over in shock and said, please. And I gave you Vince McMahon's number. I called him and you called him, and the rest is history. Oh, my God.
Yeah, I'll never forget it, Rick. I asked you if it was better for me to go to WCW or WWF at the time. And you looked at me like I was crazy. And
well,
you said, do not go to WCW.
Yeah, well, they just, it's nothing personal, but they didn't know how to handle someone like you.
No, what you said, Rick, was that, listen, Vince McMahon will take care of you. He will make you into a star. You can take the gold medal and turn into even more gold by going to Vince McMahon because he knows how to make wrestlers stars. And I think what you were telling me was that in WCW, most of the guys there were already stars. And you didn't think they were going to be able to do what Vince McMahon could in the WWF.
Well, they had stars there, but, I mean, first of all, Kurt, and I know that you don't brag about this, but you just won a gold medal, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And how many professional wrestlers have we ever had that won a gold medal? The answer is one, Kurt Angle, okay?
Right.
We had some bronze medalists and some Japanese kids that were bronze medalists, but in our business, the only gold medal winner that I know of, and I've been following it for a long time, is Kurt Angle. So, and you had the looks, you had the body, and I think you had just gone out to Hollywood, and given that little to see what you thought of that, because I'm sure many people wanted you to try it, and then you said, heck, I'm going to do what I do best. And Kurt, I'm going to tell you, I tell everybody this, you caught on to this business. So, I mean, the only guy that I've ever seen catch on to it that went from what you did, amateur wrestling, and to being a great professional wrestler like you was Jack Briscoe. Nobody even close. And now, I mean, Kurt, when you're wrestling, and you told me when we talked the other day that your health, when you're wrestling, you're one of the 2 or 3 best wrestlers in the world. And I mean, that's just the truth.
No, that's saying a lot. I mean, I'm 46 and I'm near the end of my career, but I really.
Well, you're 46. You're doing moonsault off the top of a 12-foot cage. Okay, so yeah, I never did that. And
you didn't have to.
You have a unique and unbelievable amount of athletic ability. I mean, holy cow! And I mean, it's so ironic. I've wrestled so many guys with an amateur background that just never caught on. You know what I mean? And you had it within a year and a half. I mean, here you are. How long did you train? You trained with Dory, correct?
Yeah, I trained with Dory, I think maybe 3 months, but the training was only for 5 days each month. I didn't really have a lot with him, not enough, but enough to learn the basics, and I think that's what he wanted to instill in me. Yeah,
well, and Dory was great, but, I mean, Dory was a ground attack kind of guy, you know what I mean? He was.
Yes.
And here you were you're a combination of Shawn Michaels and Rey Mysterio. Does that make sense? Only you're 240 pounds. And so, I mean, did you watch professional wrestling, when you were growing up?
No, I didn't watch it.
I didn't think so.
I knew who Bruno was. I knew who Ric Flair was. I knew who Hulk Hogan was. But other than that, I mean, I didn't know any wrestlers that did not hit mainstream. I didn't watch it till I got into it in 1999, but I fell in love with it. And what I had to do was forget everything I learned my whole entire life in amateur wrestling and learn a whole new concept of wrestling. And it wasn't easy, but when you get into something and you know that you have to be the best you can at it, you adapt quickly and you learn. But, I had some great wrestlers. I started early. The first wrestlers I wrestled on TV were Chris Benoit, Trish Jericho, Undertaker, Triple H, The Rock. Guys that knew how to carry me, to make me look good while I was learning. Because you don't just get on TV and win the world title in 10 months from when you started and know what you're doing. So I was a good follower, and I was led by good leaders, and that turned me into a good leader.
Yeah, well, the same would apply to me. I mean, I wasn't an amateur wrestler of any quality whatsoever, but I broke into business at the right time, too. I mean, I had Wahoo McDaniels, Dusty Rhodes, Dick Murdoch, Harley Race, the Briscoes, the Funks, Jack Mulligan. I mean, the list of people that I was Ray Stevens, Nick Bockwinkel, the list of people that I was able to hang around. And even though I wasn't wrestling them in my first year in the business, I was watching and learning, and I wasn't afraid to ask a question, which is, one of the funny things today. And if I asked Ray Stevens a question and he gave me an answer, I didn't ask anybody else because Ray Stevens was the greatest wrestler I ever saw in my life. Nowadays, and I tell people all the time, if somebody asks me an opinion about something in a match or what I think they should do differently or would I suggest to make them better, and I tell them something, and the next minute they're asking a guy who hasn't been in the business a year, hey, this is what Flair told me. What do you think? that does not work for the Nature Boy, man. I mean, you know what I'm talking about, right? I mean, here I am. I had seen you work, Kurt, on TV before I got there. But when we were in Japan, and I hadn't seen you work with The Undertaker. I wrestled Shawn that night, but you and The Undertaker went 40 minutes in Tokyo. Do you remember that match?
Yeah.
I don't know if that was on TV or not, but that was one of the greatest matches I ever saw in my entire life. I mean, Undertaker is, a phenomenal talent in itself. But
he is.
Here you were 6 years in the business having world-class matches. I mean, you just had to be so proud of what you accomplished.
Yeah, it was good. I seemed to have pretty good chemistry with just about everybody. It was Taker, wow. We had some incredible matches. That one in Japan was, I wish that was on TV, but, can't have every single match on TV. But I just, I loved it. And the more I did it, the more I wanted to do it. And how hard we were working. We were doing shows, 300 a year.
I was there.
It was crazy, but the more I did, the harder I wanted to work. I never really slacked off and took a night off. I always did. And you know what, Rick? When I started watching tapes of Ric Flair and Arn Anderson, and I got into it where I was studying these tapes and watching. Rick, I watched you wrestle matches where you were calling the whole match in the ring, and I could tell you were. You weren't really showing it, but you could see your lips move every once in a while, and the things you were doing and the way that you were making your opponent look so much better. It encouraged me to do the same thing, and that's one thing. When I went into pro wrestling, I didn't go in it to make me look good. I knew that the mindset was you have to make the match look good. The better you make your opponent look, the better the match will be. So it wasn't about me anymore. It was about making my opponent look better, especially if I was a heel. And I learned that from you.
Yeah, well, thank you. I mean, that's basically was my philosophy, and I learned. I learned early on that I was so limited in terms of offensive skills. I mean, I had a chop and a knee drop, and I could go woo. You know what I mean? But I was so much better a heel than I was. But promoters, you can't be a heel. What do you mean I can't be a heel? Let me be a heel. You can't be a heel anymore. People love you. Well, you know the answer to that. It's like when I was at TNA with you. If I was wrestling you or Sting, I could be a heel all night long.
Yeah.
Against anybody else, and they're not going to get mad at me. But I got to tell this story. You might not remember this. So I land in Phoenix, Arizona, and walk into the building, and just nobody gave me advance warning. Michael Hayes used to call me, and Pat Patterson says, "Hey, you're wrestling Angle tonight." I said, "What? What?" And I said, "How long?" He said, 18 minutes. I said, 18 minutes? What are you doing to me, man? It's a rib. So anyway, Kurt and I, we lay the match out. We go like this, and so wrestling Kurt Angle guy. Let me just tell the world, I'll go on record. This guy never, ever takes a deep breath. I don't think I did when I was younger either, but
No, you didn't.
Certainly, when I was younger, I didn't either. But this guy doesn't take a breath ever. He doesn't breathe hard after the match. So anyway, Kurt would say something, but I was just doing my own thing. And finally I said, throw me on the floor. He said, what for? What are we doing? I said, just please come out here. So I said, pull up the mat. He said, what are we doing? I said, give me your belly to belly on the floor. He said, the cement floor? And I said, yeah. He said, why? I said, so I can catch my breath. I'm staying out here for about 3 minutes. So then he goes, so I've already taken it from you every other way. I knew you were going to hurt me, and cement wasn't going to hurt me. It's too late for that. So you rolled it back, gave the belly to belly. It made me a hero anyway. Even though the match wasn't great, me taking that from you and the cement got over with all the guys, you know. But Pat Patterson came up to me and said, Kurt doesn't think you like working with him. I said, no, it's not that. I'm afraid of him, number one. Number two, I got to catch your breath once in a while, Pat. I'm 52 years old. Hello, Pat. Jesus Christ, I love working with Kurt. I mean, it was just, you remember that, Kurt? I said, yes, I can catch my breath. I'm laying out here about 3 minutes and milking this. Keep breaking the count. Good Lord.
The best part of it, Rick, is we were going home, and you're in the corner, and you told me to slap you.
I know. I didn't tell you to break my jaw, though. No, Jesus Christ. Okay, Blackjack.
You told me to slap you again. I slapped you again. Then you fed out to the ropes. You said, clothesline me over the top. I clothesline you over the top. You do the Ric Flair, your flop, right? Over to the banister, and you went into the crowd. And I went, oh, my God, we have a minute left. We're going to be off the air.
No, I got in there just in time. I got to tell you something else, too. Kurt, I knew this before that match, but I'm watching you on TV before I get there, right? And I think that leg hold, that ankle lock, is a shoot, right? So I'm watching Swaggart use it one night, right? I called Jim Ross and I texted him. He was doing the show, and I go, Angle ain't gonna like that, because I just figured it's Kurt Angle. It's real, right?
Right.
It doesn't hurt at all. And here I am, 16-time world champion. And I thought your finish hold was a real deal. Christ, then one week Eddie Guerrero was using it, and then Sean used it. I said, quit teaching these guys how to use this shoot hold, will you? I just figured with you doing it, it was like with Jack Briscoe, you didn't turn over the figure four. I'm the originator of a turnover, not Jack Briscoe. When Jack put the figure four in you were tapping out, man, or getting to the ropes maybe, if he liked you. So... No, Kurt, it's so funny because I just thought, gosh, it's just amazing that here I am in this business so long, and I'm thinking that's a real hold because I've never seen it. Sure.
The greatest talker in the history of the business is behind the mic once again. This is WOOOOO Nation with Ric Flair.
Welcome to Play It, a new podcast network featuring radio and TV personalities talking business, sports, tech, entertainment, and more. Play it at play.it.
This is WOOOOO Nation with Ric Flair.
So listen, my friend Conrad, who loves you and is one of your biggest fans, wants to ask you a couple questions. Is that okay?
Sure. Yeah, go ahead.
Pleasure to have you on the show here today, Mr. Kurt Angle. We want to go ahead and give a free plug to your website, of course, KurtAngleBrand.com. And, of course, you can always check Kurt out on TNA, Destination America, on Friday nights. I'm Conrad Thompson, of course, Kurt, and we've been talking a lot about amateur wrestling so far today, but one of the things that's kind of the most famous backstage story maybe in WWE history, and Rick, I think you were here for this, there was the impromptu amateur match with you and Brock Lesnar. How did that all go down, and what are you guys' memories of that?
Oh, I'll tell you, Brock Lesnar, he's an animal. There have been so many rumors about, he kicked my ass, I kicked his ass. It all stemmed from somebody asked Brock how he would do against me, and Brock said that I was too small. So that kind of got to me because I'd wrestled guys beside the Brock, and I'd done fairly well with them. So I asked Brock to challenge me in the ring. Let's see what you have. And we didn't do it that day because he had sandals. But I said, well, take the sandals off, and I'll take my shoes off. We'll go in our bare feet. And he said no. So one day he was wrestling Big Show in the ring. It was before the show, before Raw, and he was throwing Big Show around. I mean, it was scary.
He's incredibly strong, man. I had to
I
wrestle
never
him
saw
too.
anybody pick Big Show up like that. I'm sorry. He's manhandling Big Show, and at the time, Big Show had to be about 5'30", and I just never saw anybody do that. It was incredible. I was actually nervous now, but when Big Show got up at one point, where Brock slammed him down, Big Show got up, and Brock's back was to me, and Big Show was facing me on the other side of Brock, and I said, "Get out." And Big Show nodded his head, and he walked out, and I tapped Brock on the shoulder, and I said, "Let's see what you have." And Brock and I, we went at it, and wow, the kid's a world-class athlete. He's not only stronger than anyone I know, he's more athletic. I mean, there's just nobody like him. It doesn't faze me that Brock was a UFC champion. It doesn't faze me that he probably would have been an all-pro in the NFL if he would continue to pursue it.
Yeah.
He was that good. Was he the best wrestling technician? No, he knew a double leg. He knew a high crotch. He knew how to defend himself. He knew what he had to know to win a national title and in college. And Brock was, wow, I just never wrestled anybody that was 300 pounds that could go like he did. The match we had was tight. I kept getting his leg, and we kept hitting the ropes, which is out of bounds, and I had to let go. So I had a few takedowns I thought I would have had on him. But really, if the match was tight, I took him down twice, and that was it. So, in the 15 minutes we wrestled, it was really tight. The rumors were that I kicked his butt, and Brock said at one point he pinned me in 30 seconds. It wasn't like that. It was a tough go at it. The only reason I beat him was pure technique and positioning alone, which you learn the older you get in the Olympics. And even though I was, 7-8 years outside of the Olympics since I wrestled, I think Brock was only a year or two outside the NCAAs. I got him, but I didn't want to go with him again. That's apparent. He is that tough. I like what they do with him in WWE because he is an animal, and he deserves to be treated that way because he really is.
Yeah, I tell everybody his entrance is enough to intimidate you. It's a 40-inch vertical jump. I don't want to beat it the day he misses it.
Right.
Who stands at the bottom of a ring and jumps 40 feet that weighs 290 pounds? I mean, 40 inches, right?
Yeah.
Jesus.
He's a mammoth.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing because I wouldn't beat her the day he missed it. I wouldn't want to be his opponent.
Right.
Oh, yeah. No, he's an amazing guy. How do you think I felt? I had to wrestle him a couple times, too, and every time he picked me up, I would just go, "Please be careful."
Rick, did he belly to belly you?
Please be careful, Brock.
Because he gets some airtime with those things, man.
Oh,
you don't know
my
when you're going to land.
that F5, my God, he twirled me around like weighed 8 pounds, But once again, I'm going to tell you, he never hurt me. People just say to me,
he knows how to work. You're right.
Oh, he can work his ass off.
He's safe.
It just to look at him, you think, I don't think maybe if I was 35, I might have enjoyed it, but at 52, I was probably thinking, or 53, whatever I was. Thanks, that initiated the night that Austin quit. Were you still there? You were there then, right? Austin didn't show up, and I was a co-owner of the company, and I walked into the building in Atlanta, Georgia. And Vince, and I knew Austin wasn't coming because I worked with him the night before in Columbus, Georgia, in a cage match. And he said, "I'm not coming tomorrow." I didn't know what that meant for me.
So with you then. You were
he goes, Vince goes, "Where's your stuff?" I said, "I don't know. I didn't bring it. What? For why? What? And he said, "You're wrestling Lesnar tonight." I said, "I'm the co-owner." He said, "You were." I said, "So what happened? The board of directors meet over the weekend?" I mean, Jesus. So I was brutal. And I looked at Lesnar and I go, "Why?"
Rick, I listen, it doesn't matter. Even at 53, the stuff you do is awesome, and the fans love it, and it's so entertaining.
Well, that's what I've learned in subsequent loss of ability over the years. I have learned how to be entertaining. As long as I can keep moving.
I don't think they should have put you with Brock at that point in your career. But, I mean,
he didn't hurt me, but you couldn't have told me that going in. As it wasn't a way to get over it, kill a future Hall of Famer. First night over, that'll work. Who's ribbing who here, Vince? Why don't you wrestle and I'll be the owner?
I know.
He didn't answer
That's one match Vince wouldn't take.
Well, go ahead, Conrad. We got Kurt rolling, man. He's laughing.
We've got Kurt Angle with us here on Woo Nation. You're listening to it right here from Play It. Kurt, going back to talking a little bit more about some MMA stuff, you mentioned that Brock Lesnar was a former UFC champion. We know Dave Bautista tried some MMA, Bobby Lashley, and now CM Punk. They're all trying their hand at MMA. And over the years, of course, there have been stories that you got very close to signing with the UFC. If the UFC was where they are now, all the way back in 1997, do you think you may have chosen MMA as a career path instead of professional wrestling?
Well, I'll say this. Unfortunately, because how much I love pro wrestling, I don't think I would have gone into pro wrestling. I think I would have done UFC. I think I would have done MMA. It was more up my alley, being an Olympic gold medalist and starting to train in MMA before I started in pro wrestling. I loved it. I thought it was awesome. I think the rule changes were even better. Unfortunately, the UFC didn't start becoming, popular until after I signed with WWE and I started having a lot of success. I did have a stint with Dana where I met with him twice. Once was right after I left WWE. Unfortunately, I couldn't. I left WWE and took some time off, and when I had the meeting, when I flew out to meet with Dana White, he wanted me to quit pro wrestling entirely, and I just signed the deal with TNA, and I felt an obligation to fulfill it, at least for a year or two, even though it was a 5-year deal, but I couldn't just quit, and I told Dana, I just signed with these guys last week, I can't just go back and tell them I'm not going to wrestle.
Right.
And he said, well, I cannot have you wrestle. He said, listen, think about it. If you decide not to, come back to me at a later date. We'll work something out. So Dana was cool. He was great. I didn't have any problems with Dana. He was all for it, and I was too. But unfortunately, we couldn't come to that deal at that time. Then in 2010, we had the situation with my ex and Jeff Jarrett and all that crap that was going on, and I was looking for a way out of pro wrestling, and I called Dana and met with him again. And this time he wanted me to be on Real Fighter with Kimbo Slice. He didn't want me to fight Kimbo at a pay-per-view. He wanted me on the show with Kimbo. I was okay with that, but he was going to start the show in 4 weeks. And I told him, I can't be ready in 4 weeks to go on that show and have any impact. I need at least 3 to 6 months. And he said, well, we're starting. I'd really like you on the show. Why don't you come out here and take a physical? I went out and took the physical, and then I came back, and we just decided that wasn't enough time for me to get ready. And also, I said, Dana, I'm not going to go on that show for free. I know these guys go on the show for free for a contract. He said, no, we'll give you this amount of money to be on the show, and I'll give you a 6-fight deal regardless of what happens. Dana was great to me. I don't have any problem with Dana, but I just could not come to the grips of being ready in 4 weeks. I didn't want to go in there unprepared and embarrass myself because, we all know these guys are world-class fighters, and I wanted to be ready.
Yeah, well, Kurt, I've been with you when we were at TNA together when you've talked to Dana on the phone, and then I remember I called you last year. I met Dana for the first time in person in Atlanta, and he thinks the world of you. As all those MMA guys, they all stayed at a hotel that I was staying at visiting my girlfriend in Atlanta, and you're legendary with those guys. They look up to you as if you were actually a champion, a current champion, or a former champion. That's how much respect you have from these guys with your amateur wrestling skills. So, and Dana thinks the world of you. The first thing I said to him, I said, I know Kurt Angle. He said, God, I love Kurt. Wish we could have got him. But it's got to be great for you to know you have that much respect. And you know, I've just got to throw his name in there because my friend Conrad has had the misfortune, good fortune and misfortune of hanging around TJ Jaworski.
Oh, God.
And I always tell everybody that you always tell me that pound for pound, TJ, here's another guy that should have gone to the UFC, right?
Yeah. Oh, gosh. He would have done some real damage. Yeah, TJ Jaworski is an animal.
He is so damn tough, it's ridiculous. And I always tell everybody, you told me
he's one of those guys that, you know, at his size, he could possibly kick my ass. That's what's scary about him. You know, it doesn't matter what weight class he'd be in. That's how tough the kid is.
Yeah, the thing about him, he knows no fear. You know, I take him deep sea fishing, right? And he puts on his scuba gear and goes 120 feet. I mean, who does that? You know, he just jumps off the side of the boat and goes out and shoots a lobster off a shelf, right? 120 feet. He fears nothing. You know, you get in a storm, what are you worried about? Have another beer, right? Okay. By the way, we're taking on water. We're 70 miles out. Just shut up, Rick. I got everything handled. Okay, Coach.
Well, he wasn't a 3-time national champion for nothing.
Yeah, God, I know. Yeah. Holy cow. Well, he's doing, I don't know if I've told you, he's got that rock quarry business in Southern California, and he is kicking ass, boy.
Good for him.
Yeah, his stepfather has turned it over to him, and he's making big jack. He deserves it. And as a matter of fact, it's the largest quarry in California now. So,
Good
he's doing real well. He loves you, man. He thinks you're the
I love him
coming.
too.
So, but I can get him out for a drink, unlike you. Conrad, I can't tell you. I would sit there by the DoubleTree where they had a bar with a window into the lobby, right? And I'd wait for Kurt to come by. And I'd go, hey, Kurt, come in. Maybe. Let me think about it, okay? I got to make a phone call. Never.
Yeah.
Never.
I've went in there with you.
I
wouldn't come out. I would be there, and I would pass out in that room.
I've never gotten you out for a drink. I mean, I tell people that all the time. Kurt will not drink.
I can't. I don't trust myself with you.
Oh, geez.
That's a good call. No. That's a good call.
Wow. God, Kurt, I'm 60 now. I'm harmless.
No,
66. Oh, God. Well, listen, man. I love you. Got a couple more questions for you?
Absolutely. You're listening to Woo Nation. We've got Kurt Angle as our guest, and be sure to check out Kurt on Destination America Friday nights there for TNA Wrestling. And as always, you can catch him online at KurtAngleBrand.com. Kurt, want to kind of stick with that amateur wrestling theme. The movie Foxcatcher was released last year and received a lot of praise from the critics, but a lot of folks who were there took issue with parts of the movie, and you knew a lot of those guys, right? What was your take on the movie?
I thought the movie was great. I think, there were things in the movie that did not occur. I think that a lot of people know what things were that did not occur, and that was, the John DuPont's mother was already dead. She passed away before he started Foxcatcher. There are things in the movie where Mark Schultz, they portray Mark as a little more vulnerable than he was, but that's what movies do. I mean, that's what producers and directors in movies, they want to make it as dramatic as they can. But I mean, as far as true to life, the characters, the storyline, everything was dead on. I mean, I didn't see much that was not true. It was kind of eerie because I didn't really want to watch the movie because I didn't want to come to the grips of the scene where Dave got killed.
Right.
That's the one thing that really, I didn't want to see, but I think I had to do it and for Dave and for everybody else in amateur wrestling. That this movie has done so much for it. The thing is, Dave was the man. He knew 8 languages. He knew all the technique in the world. He was the best wrestler. He wasn't as athletic as Mark. Mark was actually the best athlete I've ever seen in amateur wrestling. But Dave was the best technician. He was the best teacher, coach, overall wrestler. And, he did so much. But as hard as for me to admit it, what John DuPont did for wrestling is he made us number one. And it's because of money. We needed the money. USA Wrestling needed the money. The wrestlers, I was getting a great paycheck. I didn't have to go out and get a real job. I could train wrestling 8 to 10 hours a day and get paid. So as bad as it was that what John DuPont did, and as unforgivable as it was, John DuPont made us number one in the world. We were beating the Russians, the Iranians, the Eastern Europeans, the Cubans. We became number one in the world. And ultimately, it was because of John DuPont.
Wow, that's a take that you don't hear very often. And you're listening to Kurt Angle here again on the Woo Nation. And just kind of sticking with the, going with all your accomplishments in amateur wrestling, Kurt, winning the gold medal, of course, right here in Atlanta in 96 has to be the number one career highlight as far as amateur wrestling. But what do you consider to be the number one highlight of your professional wrestling career?
Oh, man. That's hard. I've done so much, and I had an unbelievable career in WWE. I really did. It was, as far as for that 6.5 year span that I was there, I don't think anyone can compare their career to that. But my career got better in TNA. I actually had a better career the last 7-8 years than I did the first 7. But, that comes with age. Rick will tell you it comes with experience, and I just got better. I had a better psychology, a better mind for it. And I don't regret going to TNA. I'm happy I did. I realized how hard you have to go in WWE and how tough it is. I look at guys like John Cena, and I wonder how he does it, how he stays on top that long. The kid is a bona fide badass. He is the epitome of what any pro wrestler should aspire to be. Guys like him that stay out of trouble, stay clean, and work 300 days a year and just don't stop. And he does it with class. And his work has improved 1,000,000% from when I was there. So,
Yeah. Well,
guys like that, they come around once in a lifetime. And, I told Vince McMahon when I went with him last year, I said, if I kept my nose clean and I stayed with you guys, I would have been John Cena because I was your guy and I was better than anyone else. And, I just want Vince to know I knew how good I was, But the truth is, I couldn't cut it. I couldn't stay there longer than I did, and that's why I don't regret it. And Dixie Carter and TNA, they took care of me. They took care of me physically, financially. If I wasn't up to wrestling and I didn't feel good, she let me have a few months off. It was an easier schedule. It was better for my health. It was just a better overall situation. And I, every day I still have fans ask me, why did you leave? Why don't you go back? The answer is, I couldn't do I couldn't do the full-time schedule. If WWE would have said, hey, go part-time and let's do, the one TV a week and the pay-per-views, I would have stayed, but that wasn't the offer they were giving me. They wanted me full-time on the road, and I just couldn't do it anymore.
Yeah.
So, my hat's off to Dixie Carter for doing what she did for me the last 8 years.
Yeah. Well, let me tell you, just to chime in with you, Kurt, I totally agree with what you're saying about John Cena, and I don't know if you remember this, but I've told you this, I told John Cena this. I was watching SmackDown one night, and Cena had just come out of Louisville, and they had him run in on Kurt Angle. And I'm thinking to myself, oh, Jesus, this poor kid, he ain't got a chance. That kid, that kid stood toe-to-toe with you.
Yes, he did.
For about 10 minutes, and he never blew up. I said,
and I tried to blow him up.
He wasn't wrestling with you when you guys were slugging it out. And I said, this guy is going to blow up.
There was no selling in that match.
He never blew up. I couldn't believe it. I saw him, and I said, man, I don't like your gimmick, but you just stood toe-to-toe, which I didn't like his first gimmick. The
prototype.
Yeah, I said, who thought of that? He said, I did. I said, I'm sorry.
I don't think he liked his first gimmick.
Oh, he did, though. At first he did, but it was kind of like a rap guy, right? Or something like that? Or
yeah, he was the prototype
at first he was the prototype.
Yeah, but the fact he stood toe-to-toe with you, I said to myself, this guy's got a future, man.
I know, man. And
he didn't blow up. John never blows up. He doesn't do cardio. He's like Hunter. It's crazy.
I know. Yeah, Triple H is the same way, too. I know.
Who?
Did you say Hunter?
Yeah, Hunter doesn't. I mean, he does cardio now because he only wrestles once a year. But
I didn't think he did back then, right?
he never did cardio. No,
Yeah,
I watch him,
yeah.
and he's one of those guys that uses a watch. He does one set every 8 minutes. You know what I mean? He's a Venice bodybuilder. And there's no cardio in that.
Yeah.
There's no cardio in that. I mean, you end up looking like $1 million. But I try to tell people the conditioning, running on a treadmill or whatever your choice of cardiovascular equipment is, and I've tried them all. It's nothing like getting in the ring. Ring time and being able to relax. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's what happened to me when I got older. I never even, and I tell this, and Kurt, I mean, it's not a secret, the whole world. I never went to bed for 35 years. I never woke up saying, man, I didn't sleep enough. I got an hour Broadway tonight with Steamboat. I didn't even think about it. Steamboat and I didn't talk. We went and got in the ring, or Wahoo, or whoever it was, and I wrestled an hour. It's when I got older and started thinking about things that there's two things you can't do. You can't worry about getting hurt in this business. If you do that, you're done, right?
Yeah.
If you're going to the ring and you're worried about getting hurt, you need to go home. That's the number one, because it's going to mess up something, and your lack of hesitation is going to throw somebody else out of whack, I didn't worry about getting hurt, but I used to worry about blowing up all the time because I'd get in the ring.
Yeah.
And my heart rate, I go to Pittsburgh to see Donahue. You know who Donahue is, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, at the University of Pittsburgh, the cardiologist, he goes, there's something wrong with you. He said, nobody's got a resting heart rate of 38. I said, well, nobody went 20 years of an hour Broadway every night and did 500 free squats in the morning. You know what I mean? And that's what I did. But he goes, I was there 4 hours.
Before it was John Cena, there was Ric Flair.
Huh?
You're a different breed. Before John Cena, there was Ric Flair.
I guess,
and you're right. You didn't sleep. You worked your ass off an hour every night.
But I did the cardio in the morning, too.
Either.
I did the cardio in the morning, too. I mean, I started the free squats with Vern when I broke in. God rest his soul. I guess you've heard about Vern, right?
Yeah. Vern Gagne, it's a shame. I know he lived 89 years, but the guy did so much for pro wrestling, and I know that he was pretty much the Kurt Angle before Kurt Angle was Kurt Angle. So, I give him credit for my success.
No, he was really tough and a good guy. But, when I broke in with him, we started out doing 500 free squats every day and 200 push-ups. I mean, I weighed 300 pounds. I quit 3 times, Kurt. He came over and got me 3 times and said, hey, you quit everything you've done. You quit in college. You flunked out of college. You're not going to quit on me. And he brought me back. Wow. But here's Ken Patera, 330, and me 300. I was ready to be the Dick the Bruiser or the Crusher. I didn't know anything about free squats and push-ups. Right. Christ, I hadn't run a mile since I was a freshman in college, So, but he was brutal. So, but it gave me the mindset. I mean, I did 500 free squats every day for 10 years, and I got tired of that and started doing step-ups. And then I bought my first Stairmaster. I mean, I've conquered every piece of cardio there is. But when you get older, it's hard to get the tick there going. I'm sure that your resting heart rate's got to be way down there too, Kurt, when you're not moving around, right?
Yeah, I'm pretty good. I run every day, though. I've always kept up with that. I figured if I don't use it, I'm going to lose it, so I better keep doing it. Yeah,
well, that's good, man. You're an awesome guy, Kurt. I can't thank you enough. Conrad, you got any more for the young man?
Yeah, one last question, Mr. Angle. Again, you're listening to Kurt Angle right here. You can check him out here on Woo Nation, of course, but every Friday night on Destination America with TNA Wrestling, or online anytime at KurtAngleBrand.com. Kurt, as we get ready to wrap this thing up here, you've kind of done it all in pro wrestling, and we kind of covered, you weren't even really sure what your number one moment would be, but is there anything left on your bucket list? Is there anything left you feel like you want to accomplish?
No. I wish I could have the length of career that Ric Flair did, but that's not possible. I'm near the end of my career right now, but I'm happy. I've enjoyed everything from WWE to TNA, all the memories, spending time backstage with Rick and, people that I really looked up to. It's been a long and successful and enjoyable ride. Pro wrestling's done so much from so many good things and so many bad things. but I learned from all of them, and it's made my life much more valuable. As far as my number one in pro wrestling, man, it's my first title against The Rock, and the reason is because when I started out, and I had many moments. My Shawn Michaels match at WrestleMania, Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania, Eddie Guerrero at WrestleMania. All those matches are awesome. The matches I have with AJ Styles, Samoa Joe, and TNA. But my first title with Rock, the reason that's so special is because I didn't know how good I was going to become. That match pretty much, and Dwayne made me look really good because, like I said, I didn't know what I was doing. I just sold and did, bumped and flopped around. I did the Ric Flair.
Right.
I sold the whole time and won the match. And but knowing that the company put the title on me, it gave me assurance that I was going to have a lot of success in pro wrestling, considering I was only in it a year. So I think that was the most special moment, and it was The Rock. I mean, you can't deny his entertainment value, his wrestling ability. He's one of the best, and I had a great ride with Rock. We wrestled at least 200 times in our careers, and it was a lot of fun.
Well, you just kind of ran through a lot of WrestleMania stuff too, Kurt. I'd be remiss if I let you get out of here without asking. Mick Foley's kind of made this phrase popular, a WrestleMania moment, and he says all guys want a WrestleMania moment. What was your WrestleMania moment if you had to pin it down to just one amongst all your shows that you were on?
I think knowing that never wrestling Shawn Michaels before and never touching him and literally not going over anything. You have WrestleMania, you have a whole week to prepare for your match. Shawn and I, we didn't touch each other. We didn't touch each other until we got in that ring, and it was magic. We went about almost 30 minutes, and it was just incredible. And it wasn't a title match. It wasn't a main event. It was a middle card match, believe it or not. Kurt Angle and Shawn Michaels in the middle card, and it was the most amazing feeling to have that match and steal the show that night, and just know. And the thing is, of all the title matches, I had 3 title matches at WrestleMania, main events. I got more money for that match than all the title matches because of how good it was. And it was a lot of money. And I know that Shawn and I were very happy about that. But my dream match would have been Ric Flair in his prime. But that's not going to happen. So, I'll take what I can get.
Yeah, well, hey, that was Los Angeles, right? You and Shawn?
Yeah, that was Los Angeles.
Yeah, I was there.
I think it was WrestleMania 21.
Yeah, I was there when I remember it was phenomenal. But I mean, and I tell this to you, and I've told you 100 times. I've never seen you have a bad match, Kurt. And that's one of the things I prided myself on. I mean, there are certainly times when we all have to pull teeth to get it the way we want it, but I wouldn't give up on it, and I think that was part of the reason I had so much success, is I wouldn't quit on it until I got what I needed to be. And in our business, and you just went the list of guys you were competing with and against every night, and competing against in terms of being the top guy. When I was in my heyday, it was Arn and Tully and Barry and Magnum and Dusty and Brody and Hanson and the Briscoes. I mean, and I'm the champion, right? And I had to go in the ring at the end of the night, and after trying to follow some of the Road Warriors and those guys, and I had to follow, and I wasn't happy with it. That's why people say, he stays out there. Sometimes you got to stay out there 30 minutes after you've had blood, guts, and glory, and then I'd take 3 different blades, just in case I can't get them at the 30-minute mark and the blood gets cold. I'm not going home until they're happy.
Yeah, Rick, I've said this before. Nobody will ever compare your career. Nobody. You were the man. You'll always be the man.
You don't have to say that. I appreciate it. Just the fact that you call me back, and I tell people all the time about life. Somebody told me, I guess when I was about 30, when I was 50, I had 5 good friends. I'd be the luckiest guy in the world. And here I am. I'm 66, and I got probably 20 guys. You being one of them that I can call and say, "Hey, what's up, man?" And you'll call me back. And that's more rewarding to me than any wrestling accolade or any world title. And the only thing left on my bucket list is to see my daughter win the WWE Diva Championship.
Oh, that's going to happen, Rick.
Yeah, man. Hey, Kurt, she's you, man. And she's TJ tough, and she can do your moonsault.
Hey, all more power to her. I can't wait to see her on TV.
Yeah, thank you so much, Kurt. I love you, man.
Love you too, man.
Thanks so much for coming on. This is our opening show, and it's going to air. I'll call you and let you know what day it airs, okay?
Please do, Rick.
Thanks,
right,
buddy,
man.
for everything. And, hey, Kurt, remember, WOOOOO Nation, baby. Woo!
The greatest talker in the history of the business is behind the mic once again. This is WOOOOO Nation with Ric Flair.
Welcome to Play It, a new podcast network featuring radio and TV personalities talking business, sports, tech, entertainment, and more. Play it at play.it.
This is WOOOOO Nation with Ric Flair.
All right, we're back on WOOOOO Nation here on Play.it. I'm Conrad Thompson, and of course, the man of the hour, Ric Flair's with me. Rick, that was a hell of an interview with Kurt Angle.
Actually, the man of the hour is Kurt Angle. He just continues to amaze me. You know, the guy to be able to articulate like that and be that tough. I mean, think about it.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a certified killer in the sport of professional wrestling. I mean, if he wanted to be, but he's just as nice a guy as could be, unassuming. I do like it when he's a little edgy and talks about he knew he was the best, because when you're that good, I mean, there was a time when I knew I was the best.
Right.
And but I didn't wake up thinking about it or go to bed thinking about it. I just knew it.
Right.
It came out, and I think Kurt knows that it takes time. You think you learn it in a couple of years, and then a couple of years later you learn something else, and pretty soon you've got a complete, as Jim Roth would say, a complete set of paints to work with. You know what I mean? And Kurt Angle's got it all, and he had a phenomenal career with WWE and wrestled. He was just with top guys. I mean, Taker, Hunter, Shawn, Foley. I mean, The Rock. I mean, look at that list.
And then the next generation too, the AJ Styles, the Samoa Joes,
yeah.
all those
and he's
guys.
had a great run with TNA, and as he said, Dixie made his schedule easier. I don't know that I would have ever liked to work part-time, but that was my fix.
You don't like to sit still, though.
Wrestling was my fix. Okay?
Right.
I didn't like being off. I'm not sure if that's good or not. They said the planes leave for Baltimore. I was at the airport an hour early. And that was before TSA. So, yeah,
I thought it was a fantastic interview with Kurt. I appreciated his candor, and as a wrestling fan, I never really considered what he said, but it made a lot of sense. He really could have been the next John Cena. He was supposed to be in the John Cena position in terms of work rate and the wholesome guy and the All-American guy and all that. That wouldn't have been something I would have even considered. But, I think he's on the money.
Yeah, he was. I mean, and I don't think it's that Kurt couldn't have been. It's just, what we didn't allude to, and I didn't bring up because it's really none of my business, but, Kurt has had a very serious neck injury.
Right.
He sustained a real serious neck injury back in the Olympic Games, and
right.
It's bothered him off and on. So I think that he took that into consideration too with the UFC, because when you're doing that at that level and wrestling guys like Brock, that neck's got to be right. So
sure, absolutely.
So I'm glad for him. He sounds happy, and he's healthy. He's got money, and he's on his way to just a successful, a life.
He's got a great quality of life right now.
Yeah,
with the schedule he's got and the career he's built for himself. And man, I think you've got a new career here in podcasting. I thought you did a hell of a job on your very first podcast.
Well, thank you. I didn't know for sure. I was actually laid awake last night, which is one of the things I tell you I'm not supposed to do. Think about things too hard, but I've enjoyed this. I love it. I love you, and I'm having fun. I like to talk. I like to entertain. So let's get ready for next week, man.
Let's do it.
Woo, 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 woo. Woo Nation, signing off. See you next week.